Yes. This is me, Hudson George, this evening. I'm just doing a little thing again, you know. Every day is something happening, you know. Globally and regionally. But today, I want to talk about how some Caribbean children of the old colonial class knows how to play the political game to be on top of the food chain. They know how to play the game to maintain the class. Now, I'm going to draw an example on Grenada. Well, presently, Grenada is in a state we don't know what happened. The region is hot. We might have war down the south of Grenada or around Grenada. We don't know. Or maybe you don't know. I don't want to do like other people doing blogging, trying to boost up and say there is war to get lots of traffic, you know, popularity. I don't do that. But we are in a war zone right now, or a potential war zone. Now, in Grenada, the government don't know if they're up, if they're down. They keep postponing how to respond to America. But some Grenadians, including myself, believe that the government kind of bait the American. So Donald Trump asking them for logistic. Now, Grenadians does meet on Facebook to talk. And we have a new government, they say transformation. Now, a lot of people in Grenada believe, and which I believe, and even some of the left-wing supporters who infiltrate the party admit that some of the government advisors come from St. Paul's. St. Paul's in the St. George Parish area. Now, St. Paul's have a long history of don't supporting the working class people or the slave struggle during the days of slavery. They support the British, right? Now you have, when Maurice Bishop was popular in the days, the St. Paul's people were with Maurice Bishop, right? Now we have a new politician on the block, and we all know he has some influence up in the St. Paul's area. So with what going on, different people think the St. Paul's area have an effect on the Prime Minister decision making. Now, today on Facebook, the topic come up about, well, I raised the topic. I said that instead of trying to renovate the fort and make it in tourist site for what happened on October 19th, how about the Market Square where lots of black people was executed? More black people were killed in the Market Square than Maurice Bishop and his 18 comrades, right? A man from St. Paul's area start saying, oh, he doesn't want to tell me nothing, but he think he don't satisfy. Well, putting it two and two, he don't satisfy the things that does be saying. But he doesn't know that they all tied to the old family class of the oppression of the Federal Revolution or the Federal Rebellion. So they doesn't want you to talk about that because they want to maintain the status whenever the opportunity comes for change. So don't go back in the history of the past. Right? Presently now, they don't want to hear about Market Square and who used to have militia in the St. Paul's and Monjalou area. You know? They don't want to talk about that. And if you talk about that, oh, you're a hater of so people and you think. Now they want me to join what? And talk about Donald Trump. But I always say, oppression is oppression, whether it's internal or global or regional. History of the past is history of the past that will repeat itself. Maybe if I was saying, oh, America invade a lot of Caribbean countries, the Monroe Doctrine principles that anything in the backyard must be crushed, I will be a good friend of them or a comrade. But I mustn't talk about the role of the La Grenades in the Federal Revolution. They didn't support the Federal Rebellion or Revolution. Because those same people who don't want you to talk about that, they're related to those people who were involved with the British to crush the Federal Rebellion or the Revolution, or the Federal Revolution. So they don't want you to talk about that. So if they had history, if they had power over history books, they will burn those documents so children won't be able to read it, and the next generation and the next generation. See how these people are. So I always say, most of the Caribbean children of the old colonial class, they know how to change with the time to be on top of the food chain, to keep up the paradigm. You know, because they don't want you to talk about the evils of the ancestors. And they're just mad with you. But it's in the history book. But you're vexed for. No. We could have war in the Caribbean tomorrow. Who knows? Donald Trump might send soldiers to Grenada and occupy, like how Sir Ralph Abercrombie had occupied, and he was welcome in the St. Paul's and Monjalou area and in the Granans, Montrouge area, the Labarys, the St. Bernards, the La Grenades, all these people. Some people say them Grants is part of the family too. I was reading that. So they don't want you to talk. Isn't that colonialism too? When you talk about, you can talk about your Grenadian history, people vexing. And when you talk about it, oh, you this, you that. But history is not me. It's the same white man put the history in the book. You kill me for talking about the history. I don't understand those people. And they're just mad with you. No. These are the same people who will tell you, oh, Donald Trump is a dictator. But Donald Trump doesn't tell people to talk in America. You could talk. Right? Because he himself does say crazy thing too. So, he didn't clamp down on the press. But in Grenada, the same people who say they're anti-imperialists, well, they want to control the media. They want to control history. They want to make policies. They want to control arts and any type of culture. The Grenada media is like, if a blind man come to Grenada or a blind woman, she think Grenada is a left-wing country. But if Jesus Christ come back on earth and he make a miracle on those blind people who might think Grenada is a left-wing country, when they hear left-wing rhetoric like that, if Jesus Christ work a miracle and restore the sight, all they're seeing is people what don't look nothing like left-wing at all. The lifestyle, the personality, the family background, everything they're doing is nothing like left-wing. But they just pushing a left-wing media narrative, but in their personality, they're not like left-wing. So some of these people come from the old colonial class, but in order to maintain the class, because they know the prime line is going to shift, so they're pretending that they call themselves progressive. You get it? And when you talk, shouldn't say nothing. Don't say nothing. All you talk about Donald Trump. And you're a friend. Or talk about CIA kill Maurice Bishop. And you're a friend. Oh, build a shrine on the vote, let tourists come, man, to see this great revolutionary that was killed on October 19th. Then you're a friend, you're the comrade. But the day if you talk about the market square and all the execution that take place, the hanging, public hanging, they don't want to hear about that because they know the history go point to some of them. You know, not them per se, but the grandparents and so on, other relatives were part of it. So I see them as wolves in sheep clothing, man, trying to maintain the social class and pretending that they're ready for the change, man. You can have a coalition of people against U.S. gunboat in the Caribbean, but you want to cover up the history of the market square, and you still want to run reparation movement. They have restored one reparation site in Grenada. Site to prove we had slavery. Well, we know we had slaves. They don't restore the slave pens or on what property the slave pen is to work with the owners of the land to restore it. They don't do nothing. Work with the people who own the land to restore nothing. But you want to build shrine on the fort for Maurice Bishop. So when Donald Trump says he's going to make America great again, they vex. But they want to make a political leader who his best friend killed a saint. And what make it more bad? I see a female journalist talking about the honor of Maurice Bishop and the fallen soldiers. Well, what kind of premise 1, premise 2, premise 3, negative conclusion? Now, if soldiers kill the military leader, right, or the leader, then they set up a military council. They have a new leader. They had the country locked down for some time, and a foreign country come and invade them, a powerful country. Now, they put up a little resistance, they fight, the foreign forces beat them. So, the leader they kill is a hero. You listen? The nonsense these people doing? The leader they kill is a hero, but those who kill the leader, or part of the army and kill the leader and fought against the foreign forces, they are heroes too. What kind of doom thing is that? So, the leader was killed by his military men. Other force who they want to invade already seized the opportunity to invade because you kill your leader. The other force defeat you. How can you be a hero too when you kill your leader? I don't understand, man. I don't understand these people. And then they think them alone must talk. Well, put it in the Grenada Constitution that certain people mustn't have a voice in society. Only them alone must speak. You understand? Then you have some again, I call them revolutionary toddlers in Pampas. Some of them wasn't even born yet when the revolution took place. Some of them maybe was 2 years old when it took place. Some of them born decade after the revolution took place. But they know more about the revolution than people who participate in the revolution, who were members of the Jewel movement since school days, long before Maurice Bishop had joined, coming in alliance with the Jewel movement. But they think they know more than you. You must see nonsense. And they all have an A or a chip on their shoulder. You understand? Now, we don't know if we up, if we down in Grenada. Up now, the government cannot make a decision to say to the US yes or no. You understand? But you know what? I see some bloggers in the other Caribbean island. Most of them, they blogging and saying the Caribbean is a zone of peace. Well, I don't know. I don't believe that. The Caribbean is not a zone of peace, was not, and is not. Because if you look at stats, the Caribbean have a high moderate population. And the Caribbean is also a transshipment route for drugs. But the point is that maybe if they had said Donald Trump should start crushing drugs in the United States before he start coming down to South America after the gunboats, I will say, okay, it's a fair game. Or you say crush in the United States and crush down in the Southern Caribbean. I will go with that. I'm not too biased when it comes to that because drugs is not good. We know that. But these people, man, in Grenada, man, they're not easy, man. They're not easy. And the all song in our days, they are the best progressive left. As Terry call them, petty bourgeois Marxist Leninists. I just call them homegrown colonialists who just forget themselves and behave as if those of us who not from the old colonial class still are the servant on the plantation. You know? They just forget themselves. One of them attacked me the other day. He's a Campbell. But he think I don't read the book. I read the book. I have the book still. The Fedor bought land from the Campbells, and the Campbells came back for the land. And that was one of the things that caused the Federal Rebellion. Because I think the Campbells came from Britain. They won back the land from Fedor. It is said Fedor was a mulatto, born in Martinique, come to Grenada. He used to live in Victoria. Now, one of the Campbell guys come trouble me on Facebook when I said, bro, you descend from the people who caused the Federal Rebellion. Yeah, I told him that. Just for him to get off my back because he don't have no respect for me. He doesn't know I'm a citizen of Grenada and I have a right to talk about Grenada. You can't come and tell me I think I know too much. Or if you don't want to know, don't know. Or if you know and you don't want to say, don't say. You understand what I mean? So these people and them, they're talking like they're progressive, but they still have the massa mentality in them. The slave master mentality. They say, you could take out a pig in a pen and put on the bed, it's still a pig. You have a dog living in your house, you like go like lay down on a whole couple. Just to rub in to smell like the couple. So some of them don't really change. They're just moving with the time to keep the class. You understand? But as you know right now, the region hot, you know what I'm saying? The region is hot. Anyway, well, you know, I don't want to stay too long, you know. Let's hope there is no war, because I seen all them bloggers, Caribbean bloggers, they hyping it up like if war is entertainment, man. Venezuela and Jamaica and America is going to go to war soon. Kamala getting the hit these days. But before I go, I want to give all your next history again in the Caribbean. Now, it is known that the Forbes Bonham regime in Guyana, the PNC party, helped train NGM fighters. Or call them NGM or OL fighters, I don't know, because there was little groups. But I know in Grenada you had local man used to train in the bush too. But I heard, one military man, he died now, told me he trained in Guyana. Right? And he's from the Tongue area. He died. I understand he get a bullet somewhere in his body. And he came up to the St. Andrews area and he married to a woman who is my cousin. The woman's father and my mom are first cousins, two sisters' children. So the woman is my cousin. She lives in the Paul's Dunfermline area. I think he was from the St. Paul's area. He was a cool dude to me. Can't say nothing bad about him. But I think he died now, you know. And he said they were training in Guyana, right? But when the revolution settled down, the PRG people, they didn't like Forbes Bonham. Again, I tell you, the guy who told me the story, he was a real PRG man from the South. He died now. And he married to a woman which is the woman grandmother and my grandmother are two sisters. Her father and my mother are first cousins from the Alexis people. So anyway, they didn't like Bonham. They prefer Jagan and Rodney. Now, look at the political twist now. The PPP in Guyana is no more a left-wing party. They're protecting the island grass. Now you see the same old PRG left-wing, one or two of them making the most left-wing nice still Guyana studying the island. But you know what? I worked with a man from Guyana many years ago. And he told me he mixed with 3 races. Chinese, Portuguese, and East Indian. I think it's East Indian, he told me. Chinese, Portuguese, and I think East Indian. He didn't have black in him. And he tell me, Bonham saved Jagan life. I said, what do you mean? The man was an intelligent man, and his family a professional. He tell me East Indian people, the majority of them are not, they cannot be socialists because by nature they are business people. So if Jagan had succeeded to set up a socialist state in Guyana, he will be dead because the East Indian are business people. And the same in Trinidad too. So Kamala going with Donald Trump is business. In Guyana, the PP people is business too. It's not time for sugarcane workers no more. When in Grenada making a set of nice about left wing. I tell you, I live in Canada for 40, this year, making me 42 years. No, I passed 42 years. 42 years and months living in Canada. 42 plus. And the most left-wing rhetoric I was here is from Grenadians. In the mouth, but not in the way of life. Because I never see a Grenadian socialist, Marxist volunteer to go and fight anywhere like a mercenary. And they train, most of them in the army, they train guys to die. The other day, my mind went on a soldier man called Elton John. I know Elton John. Elton John was a quiet dude. I think he was from St. David. When they were about to purge the army in Paul's, the batch they bring to replace us before we almost end up in a military fight with Ewart Lane and Peter David. They come with a battalion to fight with us. They pick up position. They had, 5 Land Rover soldiers with bazooka, tank, all kind of thing to fight with us. They stand up, go for about 2 hours before everything cool down. And they say, oh, it's not that, it's not this. By the time we go home, we hear the news, we try to overthrow them. Nothing like that here. What they do, they made a party school to get rid of the Jewel people from the army. You can bring new weapon, bring thing. Understand? Now, we in Grenada preaching the same nonsense, but we're not looking at the broader scope of politics. So all this coalition against United States of America and all them coalitions don't last. Before I go, last thing I will tell you. One year the Iranian Revolution took place, I think it was in 1979. The Khomeini regime executed the communists. All the communists had to run away. I had a professor when I was in school. She told us her family had to run away because she was a socialist. So what we have now in the world is an alliance against the United States, but the alliance is not holy. You have socialists, you have populists, you have, anti-imperialists. And it will always be like that because politics, big powers make friends and break friends. You know, in the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Turkey gave Ukraine weapon. Now Turkey and Russia is friends. You understand? America might be the common enemy now because you know you have what we call BRICS versus the US dollar. But before the US dollar was the guilders. The Dutch had the best money. So, but in conclusion, I'll say, sticking to my point, I see a lot of bloggers saying, oh, you got war in Venezuela, the United States, Colombia, China, Russia, thing. I don't know. I can't predict that. But all I know, there are chances that the Caribbean islands might be annexed by the US. Whatever is the outcome of the Venezuela war, because taking Venezuela is not easy as most people think. For the years the Chavez government there, you have a lot of weapons inside there. And other countries have interest there. So I don't know. Me don't know war strategies. But I believe places like Trinidad, Guyana, Grenada, St. Vincent and them places. Because if my memory served me well, Donald Trump had visited King Charles. And in Grenada, our parliamentarian and the lawyers were making fun of something with the King Charles thing where you could don't swear to in the court, but the parliamentarian almost swear to the king. So, these white people are very colonial. They must, maybe you disrespecting us. You know how they think. So I was thinking, maybe we had a nice referendum to get rid of the king. NNP, NDC, all of them come together and we have a nice referendum and we get rid of King Charles. That would be beautiful. But backdoor deals and so, it don't work when you're dealing with the superpowers because, you see, we cannot make big weapons. We don't have the technology. We might have the academias. We don't have the... So we might take what we left intact, and some of us, we might have the same petty bourgeoisie mentality, but we know that the world is going to change, and we want to keep at top of the paradigm, so we play with socialist Marxists, but we still have we plantocracy mentality and we petty bourgeois mentality. Anyway, this is me, Hudson George. I gone, till I come again. I gone.